All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Racha, Kodash. Double honors to the Apostle and Elders of the Great Millstone. Peace and blessing to the hopeful elect. The names that you just heard me say are the true names of the Heavenly Father and the Son in the ancient Hebrew. Yahweh is the true name of the Heavenly Father, who the world ignorantly calls God. Bahasham means in the name, and who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, his name is Yahweh Shai. Excuse me, that is how you say the name of the Father and the Son in the ancient Hebrew. Racha Kodash, which is the Holy Spirit given on high from the Heavenly Father through his Son, for us to have the proper understanding of the scriptures. And I just want to come out with a news and prophecy. Just got a couple articles, really two articles that I want to feed off of, and maybe I might go into the third one. But the first one here, and all of them is off of End Time Headlines. I checked them; they're legit. But this first one here, you have U.S., as you can see, their brain, and that word beginning with I, last word T, or letter, excuse me. Company tests apparent first in China, right, which we've told you, and even individuals, if you listen to Yuval Noah Harari and stuff like that, talking about merging man and machine. You have Elon Musk with Neuralink, the patient, if I'm not mistaken, Nolan Arbaugh, and things like that. So this information about merging man and machine, they've even showed it in movies as well, is not a foreign concept or something that's not possible of happening, right? And as written of, which I'll get it as well, in Revelation chapter 13, verse 16, that is a device the size of a grain of rice that they want to put, whether it be in the right hand or on your forehead. But pursuant to Revelation 14, it doesn't matter. Even if you don't get it in the right hand or in the forehead, you can get it in the left hand. You know, as Bakwa sometimes jokes, you get in your butt cheek. It doesn't matter. So long as you have it in your body, you have received the MOTB. So reading this article, it says Cambridge-based Axoff, hopefully I'm saying that correctly, is taking its brain, as you can see there, tech, or let's just say brain tech, on a very global tour. Right, in Revelation, the third chapter, I believe 9 and 10, talks about the hour of temptation, which shall come upon the whole world. Right, if I'm not mistaken, the word world there in the Greek is oikumene, which means the entire planet. So this device, the size of a grain of rice, is going to be a global temptation that is going to tempt the whole world to take it. Some will pass the test, some will fail the test. We are praying to be kept, like it says in Revelation 3 and 10, to be kept, which means kept, or watch means in the Hebrew is shamar, to be watched, to have a guard. So the Lord is going to have a guard, a watch over his elect, which we hope and pray to be a part of. So that way we won't have to, fall or succumb to taking the MOTB, because it's going to be a temptation and a trial upon all. But because, like it says, because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I will keep thee from the hour of temptation. So we keep the word of the Lord's patience. We endure. The Lord's going to watch over us, strengthen us, empower us in those times to overcome the MOTB. Excuse me. It says the Harvard-bred startup announced this week that temporarily, as you can see the word there, I'm just being a little safe today for YouTube. Its soft neural probe in a patient in Shanghai, while also closing a 55 million Series A funding round. The disclosure stands out since U.S. firms rarely talk publicly about human testing partnerships in China. So this has went from animal testing to now human trials. Right, as you could, like I mentioned earlier, with Elon Musk and the Neuralink patient Nolan Arbaugh, if I'm not mistaken. I know his name is Nolan, is the first name, for sure. So eventually, it's going to go out to, hey, this is safe for people to put within their bodies. It says the Massachusetts company said the round was led by CP Group Innovation and brings its total financing to more than 60 million. Axoff, or I'm going to say Axoff, plans to use the cash to expand clinical trials and build out manufacturing capacity. In a company press release carried by Biospace, the firm spotlighted its soft fluorine material and said its implants have been used temporarily in I'm going to assume that's 11 patients. It look like 11 patients so far, as reported, or maybe 2. But I'm going to assume that's 11. As reported by the Boston Globe, the Shanghai procedure was conducted through a local partner, but Axoff is not naming the partner or the hospital involved. Chief Executive Paul Lee Flock told the Globe the company plans to enroll more patients in China this year to run multiple clinical trials there, signaling that Shanghai was not a one-off experiment. So they're going to continue to do this, implementing technology into people, right? If you listen to people, you have another individual by the name of Klaus Schwab that talks about the fourth industrial revolution is where you change, right? How do you change? By merging your body with technology, having a device inside of you, which is essentially what Revelation, the 13th chapter, verse 16, goes into. But before I get into the scriptures, I'm just going to put that on hold. I don't have it up. I'm sorry. I'm just going to have this on hold. I want to get into the other article because I want to bounce off of these two. So essentially, this first article was, you see what? Essentially merging, or they're doing trials about putting a device, right? I'll just say it. Screw it. Brain implants inside of people's heads, right? Let's go to this article now. Right, this has been a very reoccurring theme for the last couple of years here. Always with these pop-ups. It says legendary economist sounds alarm on economic collapse. Now, I'm not going to read, probably not going to read through the whole article because I want to keep this very concise and very straight to the point. But a lot of these, economists that look at the economy and things like that, they'll tell you the bad, but they'll still try to make it seem as if, things could get better, if certain things change and stuff like that. You have to understand, according to prophecy, things are not going to get better. Things are only going to get worse and worse and worse. Scriptures talk about Jacob's trouble in Jeremiah 30 and verse 7. Alas, for that time is great, there is none like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it, right? So if you're going to be saved out of something, that means that things have to get and are going to get bad. Yahweh Shai, right, the Messiah, talks about in Matthew 24, for all these things are the beginning of sorrows. So sorrows are coming, but what these things that are happening right now are the beginning of sorrows. So it's only going to escalate and escalate and escalate and get worse and worse and worse. Think of like going up to a roller coaster. When you go up in that roller coaster, at first when you're, at level, right, it hasn't elevated yet, you're pretty calm, but you're a little tense because you know what's coming ahead, but you're still calm. But then as the roller coaster starts to go up and up and up, you start to get more, your heart starts to get beating. You're waiting for that eventual drop to happen, for that, that fear to set in, right? When you start to fall, so that, people start screaming and things like that. So you can liken these times right now unto the beginning of sorrows. People are on alert. People know that eventually something is going to happen. People are just waiting for that drop to happen. And I'm just going to mention here before I even forget it. Damn it. I hate that with YouTube. God damn it. Just keep it there. So all I need you to do is just do what I say to do. You have this channel, A Homestead Journey. I'm not going to play any videos, but I've been watching some of the videos lately. And you have here, it says, this first one at the top, Americans are applying everywhere and still can't find a job. But there was one in particular. Oh, here it is. You can see in the thumbnail there, it says, everyone is preparing. It says, Americans are waking up to what's coming and are getting, which I'm going to assume is getting ready, right? So in Lord's willing, I want to do a video another day on that, because certain people, again, like I gave the analogy of a roller coaster. Again, as you go up, your heart starts beating, you start to get tense because you know that eventually this thing is going to drop, right? You're just waiting for the inevitable drop to happen. So it's the same thing when she plays, she has a compilation of videos, whether it be from YouTube or TikTok or whatever. people saying that, hey, something's going to happen. They're not saying exactly what, but they're saying get ready. Some people are even saying in that video, excuse me, that they're going to come to your doorstep. Who's going to come to your doorstep? We know that's ESO with the government, right? Right, when they send the troops in. So people know that something is up, something is going to happen, right? And just like the roller coaster, everybody is tense. Everybody is waiting for that initial drop. And then when it happens, things are going to get worse. So I just wanted to mention that because although they'll say certain things like, well, there could be growth here or there if, this happens, there is no healing this place, right? Jeremiah 51. Jeremiah 51 and 8. Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. Howl for her, take balm for her pain. If so be she may be healed. We would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her and let every one of us, let us go every one into his own country, for her judgment reacheth unto heaven and is lifted up even to the skies. So this place is not going to get healed. This place is not going to get better. This is going to be a decline, right? And you've been seeing a decline from the end of 2019 going into 2020 until now. You have seen a steady decline in America, beginning with inflation and things like that, right? And no matter how much people, your government officials may come on TV and tell you that maybe inflation, the economy is stabilizing, this and that. But yet, like I mentioned, when you watch specifically, I like to watch her videos, right? You may hear, right, like what was it called? The State of the Union. Donald Trump was saying that Americans are, they're complaining about how much they're winning so much. We're doing so much winning, right? You'll have your government officials say things to quell the people, to, calm the minds down of the people. But yet when you watch these compilation of videos, you'll hear a something totally different from the everyday average American. That's why I like to say that you can't listen to your government officials when they say that, hey, the economy is stabilizing, things are looking on the up, we're winning. But yet, why is it that you have numerous videos day after day after day of people complaining, whether it be TikTok, whether it be YouTube, whether it be Instagram, people are complaining and can feel the effects of inflation. So if the people are complaining, then obviously, right, because your government officials ain't really feeling the effects of inflation and things like that. It's the everyday average people, right, that have to go out there and work their 9 to 5s, go out there and make a living that are feeling it. So that's who you have to listen to see, hey, what is the state of the American economy? Listen to the people, listen to the lamentations, listen to the complaints of the people, and that will tell you exactly where the American economy is. And it's not that they're just saying things; they're showing you proof. They're giving you and reading letters of their bills, their electric bills. They're doing videos when they're going to the grocery store and showing the high prices of. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think I watched one of these videos, or maybe it was a brother that did a video. I apologize, I can't remember which one, of a person. I think it was like orange juice was like $16 or something like that, and they showed the little thing. $16 for some orange juice? What the hell is that? But again, if you listen to like the people like Donald Trump, they're not going to tell you that. Think about that. Orange juice is practically almost $20. That's a whole bill right there. So let's say you have $100 to go to the grocery store, and 1/5 of that is going to one item automatically. What about the rest? So again, you can't listen to your government officials. You have to listen to the complaints of the people. Let's get into this article. So it says here, according to a report from Fox Business, Gary Shilling, the veteran forecaster renowned for accurately predicting the 1969 to 1970 recession and subsequently fired from Merrill Lynch for his bearish call, is now issuing a stark warning about the U.S. economy. In a recent interview with Business Insider, the economist declared a downturn by the end of 2026 almost inevitable, citing mounting pressures across key sectors. Schilling pointed to a housing market effectively frozen by elevated interest rates, where buyers and sellers remain sidelined amid high mortgage costs, limited affordability, limited affordability inventory, and rising foreclosures. Excuse me. He also highlighted a sharp slowdown in corporate capital expenditures, which grew 3.9% by the end of 2025 after reaching a pandemic era peak of 24%. Compounding these risks is a weakening consumer base strained by persistent inflation. So it has been persistent. But if you listen to certain individuals say that, oh, inflation is going down and things like that. But yet he is saying that's persistent. So you have two answers here from two different people. You listen to some people that say, oh, things are not bad, things are looking better. But then other people are telling you that things aren't getting better. So who's telling the truth here? And again, like I said, that's why you have to listen to the American people, because you're the ones that's getting affected by this. You're the ones that's going to the grocery store. You're the one with the experience. You see? Stocks are very expensive, and there probably is a major correction coming somewhere in the relative near future, Schilling said. A decline of 20 or 30% is no big deal by historical standards, so I would say that's probably in the cards. The economist who has built his reputation spotting hidden economic vulnerabilities added, I've sort of made a career looking for these hidden flaws, and I don't see anything right now that is just screaming for a big sell-off, but that doesn't mean it isn't there. On the consumer front, Schilling expressed particular concern that's really that's really on thin ice in terms of income, in terms of people's willingness to spend, he said, noting limited uh, prospects for relief through fiscal stimulus or renewed spending strength. Economists remain divided on the outlook. Billionaire investor Leon Cooperman has echoed recession risk amid high market values, while BYN Wealth's Alicia Levine counted that earnings growth and other indicators suggest resilience, at least for now. So you see, you're always going to have that. It's kind of like when you watch sports. Some people will say one thing, they'll say one thing good about a player, and the other will say something bad about a player. So you always have that, hey, things ain't looking too good, but then you'll have that resistance as well, right? So what you have here is essentially, like you said, an economic collapse, right? And I want to go into the scriptures here before I get that off of a ChatGPT. Hopefully it's still there. I want to go into this. This is Ecclesiastes chapter 1 and verse 9. I'm sorry. Yeah. Chapter 1 and verse 9. The thing that hath been is that which shall be, and that which is done is that which shall be done. And there is no new thing under the sun. Is there anything whereof it may be said, see, this is new? It had already of old time which was before us. So there is nothing new under the sun. So anything that happens has already happened before in history. You just gotta search the scriptures or go through history, which our history is, the scriptures. So you look through it and see, has there ever been an example of an economic collapse? And there has been. Now I asked this here, and I'm gonna read this first because I don't want to lose this, and then we're gonna go into Genesis 47. And of course, it's not there no more. How did I just write that? God damn it. Give me 1 second. I'm sorry. Hopefully, it gives me the same exact thing. Okay, it doesn't exactly give me the same thing, but hopefully this is good. So it says here in Genesis 47, the context involves a severe famine that led to significant economic distress in Egypt. When the Egyptians ran out of money, they resorted to selling their livestock and eventually themselves to Joseph in exchange for food. This situation can be seen as a form of economic collapse, as the usual systems of trade and currency failed, leading to a reliance on subsistence measures and servitude. The famine created a crisis that disrupted normal economic activities, demonstrating how external factors like natural disasters can lead to widespread economic hardship. Joseph's Joseph's management of this crisis included centralized control of food supplies, also reflects an early example of state intervention in economy facing collapse. The other one was a little bit better, but that's essentially what it is, right? So, what Egypt went through there was essentially an economic collapse, right? And I'm going to read. Let's read through it. This is Genesis chapter 47, verse 13. And there was no bread in all the land, for the famine was very sore, so that the land of Egypt and all the land of Canaan fainted by reason of the famine. And Joseph gathered up all the money that was found in the land of Egypt and in the land of Canaan, for the corn which they brought, and Joseph brought the money into Pharaoh's house. And when the money failed in the land of Egypt, right now, remember that part right there, when the money failed, because that is something that people are talking about. There's not enough, I'm not making enough, I'm not getting enough hours or whatever have you, right? Um, we know that eventually the dollar's gonna crash, right? If you listen to a lot of economists, like this individual or other people, they talk about what the dollar is gonna crash. So there's gonna have to be something to replace it, right? So what it says there, and when the money failed in the land of Egypt, right, which America is spiritual Egypt, and the money is gonna fail as well, there is going to have to be a replacement, right? As you're gonna see when I read it, that what the money failed in Egypt, they didn't have any more money. So they needed something to bargain because what they wanted to get food because it's like, yo, I need to eat. I need to, I have a family and things like that. I need to support myself or whatever. I don't have any more money. I've done given you my livestock, Joseph. So it's like there has to be something, some way that what a bartering tool that we can use or something that we can use to barter in order for me to get resource. Because what there is a lack of resources, right? As far as them having money to get resources, or should I say, they want to get resources, right? Which is the food, the corn, but it's like we don't have anything to give you, Joseph. You see? So verse 16, I'm sorry, verse 15, and when the money failed in the land of Egypt and in the land of Canaan, all the Egyptians came unto Joseph and said, give us bread, for why should we die in thy presence? For the money faileth. Okay, no, it's not this verse. And Joseph said, give your cattle, and I will give you for your cattle if money fails. So, okay, fine. You don't have any money? Okay, give your cattle, like I was saying, right? So that was the bargaining chip used to essentially get food. You don't have any money? Well, you're going to need to give me something in order to get food. So give me your cattle, and therefore you get food. That happened. And they brought their cattle unto Joseph, and Joseph gave them bread in exchange for horses, and for the flocks, and for the cattle of the herds, and for the asses, and he fed them with bread for all their cattle for that year. So for a year they were straight. Then, when that year ended, verse 18, they came unto him the second year, and said unto him, we will not hide it from my Lord, how that our money is spent. My Lord also hath our herds of cattle. There is not aught left in the sight of my Lord but our bodies and our land. So they didn't have no more resources to themselves. They didn't have any more money. They didn't have any cattle. They had nothing to give, but like they said, what? But their bodies and essentially their lands. Now, how am I tying this essentially with the previous article? Because we know that eventually, with all the information that we have acquired and listened to when you listen to individuals like Yuval Noah Harari, Klaus Schwab, so on and so forth, right? When they have their Davos meetings and things like that, and they reveal certain things, you have individuals like Alex Karp, all these type of people that come out, right? They always talk about, I'm sorry, what's his name? Elon Musk talked about the a universal basic income. So we understand that what eventually the dollar is going to collapse, which it doesn't mean that, okay, when the dollar collapses and money is no longer useful, that means that you're just going to get things for free, right? Because we also know that what they also want to move forward with AI. So if AI is going to do majority of the jobs, there's been a term that they have used, Yuval Noah Harari has mentioned it, as useful eaters, right? Or useless. I'm sorry if I said useful. Sorry, useless. Excuse me, useless eaters. So you're going to be good for nothing. So here it is. AI has, is in charge of majority of the jobs. Maybe may have a couple people, still working just to watch over AI to a degree, right? But AI has majority of the jobs. So majority of the jobs, you're not making any more money, right? And essentially, the dollar is no longer there. And they talk about a universal basic income. Well, you're not going to just get things for free. They're not just going to give things out to you for free because, as we just read, that is how you barter. That is how you exchange things. I have something that you want. You have to give me something of either equal value or maybe even more value for me to sit there and say, okay, I want this. So you don't have any money, like Joseph said, or whatever, right? Joseph said, okay, you don't have any money. Okay, well, give me your cattle, give me your flocks. That's something that could be of use for an exchange for the food. But then they came back and said, look, we're not going to hide it from you. We ain't got no money. We gave you our cattle. So at this point, no money, no cattle. We don't really have a bargaining chips to bargain to in order to what? Get something out of society, right? In order to get food, right? So since we don't have nothing but, we don't have any money, we don't have any cattle, anything like that, except the only thing that we have left is us ourselves, our bodies, and the land that we have. That's all we really have left to give, right? So it sounds like they already had probably made up their minds that, look, we're willing to give you our bodies at this point, because for them to mention that means that, look, we've come to the realization we don't have anything else to give. That we've ran out of options. No money, no cattle. What else could we give for us to, get sustenance? So, applying that to today, if AI has majority of the jobs, and eventually they want to come out with a universal basic income, we'll see how that goes, how they implement these type of plans that they have, right? And we know that money is no longer going to be good. The dollar is no longer going to be useful, right? And that's going to be in place of a device that is going to have all your information on it, right? But there's so much information and stuff like this that has come out where people know essentially what, I'm just going to say it, the chip is. People know that Revelation 13 to 16 is a microchip that they want to put within you. And if people already came out with information and said that what? That is going to be a means of control. So, right, with this information out there, and some people are privy to it, not all, if you are no longer working, you're useless, you're a useless eater. Excuse me, I have to say it properly. I think I'm saying useful. Useless eater. You're not contributing to society. You can't contribute to society anyway because you can't work or anything like that. You still need to eat. If you have a family, you still need to eat. But you want to partake in society so that way you can get certain things. Well, you're going to have to open your body up to technology, right? So going back here in verse 19, wherefore shall we die before thine eyes, both we and our land, by us and our, buy us and our land for bread, and we and our land will be servants unto Pharaoh, and give us seed that we may live and not die, that the land be not desolate. So they came to the end result that, look, because we have no money, because we have no cattle, we have nothing else to give but ourselves. So they opened themselves up to slavery, to essentially, look, we'll be underneath you. We ran out of resources. We ran out of any other ideas. We'll give ourselves up to you. And that's essentially with the squeeze that Esau Edom is bringing upon society, with a lack of jobs, with the job market not being good, with AI going to take away your jobs. They're squeezing to the point where it's like, look, you're eventually going to have to give in to their plans. And this is why we stress and emphasize turning back to the Lord, repenting, come into this knowledge, right? So therefore, what? Like I mentioned earlier, you keep the patience of the Lord, he will keep you in the hour of temptation, because all these things that they're doing is a squeeze, a pressure you into a particular point, a particular way that they want you to go. They want people to put themselves essentially in a form of slavery to where they will not be able to come out of it, which is through that MOTB, right? That small device the size of a grain of rice. And information has come out that people know these things, and people know that this is what's coming. So the same thing where the people eventually, they had no, the people also back then in Egypt were what? They were useless. No money. You don't have any cattle or anything to give me. So it's like, you know what? You do have something useful. You yourselves will make you slaves, and then that's how you'll get your food. So seeing as how, look, AI is going to take over. You're useless. You can't contribute or anything to society because AI is doing majority of the jobs, right? The dollar is the money in Egypt is going to fail, and we have this new device. So this is how you're going to be able to integrate with society. This is how you're going to be able to partake in society, as it says in Revelation, chapter 13, verse 16. And he calls it all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. So unless you have this device, right, save meaning unless, so unless you have this, you won't be able to buy or sell, pretty much partake in society, right? Because buying and selling is what? You have to have a job in order to buy things. In order to sell things, you have to have what? A certain establishment of business. But if you don't have this, which is going to be the new way of doing things in the future that they're pushing for, this is why they're pushing for technology, right? Essentially, again, merging man with technology. They're getting your minds ready, right? That Greek word poeo, fashioning, constructing, preparing the minds of the people to get ready for what? Preparing you for what? To take this type of stuff. And this is why they make certain things. They're crashing the economy to push you in that direction. The famine got so bad in the land of Egypt that what? Eventually the people were pushed to look, we're giving ourselves up for slavery. So there are going to be some people that know that, look, I know that this thing is going to give them control of over my life. But things are so hard that, look, I have no other choice. I want to eat. I have to take care of my family. So therefore, they're going to put themselves in a deeper form of slavery than what it is now in order to eat. Just like in Genesis 47. So that's why I want to, link these two, keep these two articles together, right? All this stuff that you see happening in society right now, the job market, it's hard to get jobs, right? And things like that. It's hard for people to either, some even people to keep a job or even find a job, more so to find a job. This is not done by happen chance. This is not just randomly happen. These things are orchestrated because they're preparing society and preparing the minds of the people for getting ready to what? They're putting you in a squeeze so that way your only option is to now what? Look to them. Just like what? Joseph was a representative of Pharaoh. That's what they want. They want you to eventually look to the government. Look, you got to come to us for what? The one of all things. You got to look to us for sustenance. But you have to do something that we want in order for you to get what you want. You see? So you want to partake in society. You want to take care of your family. You're going to have to follow in this new structure that we're setting up, which is that small device, a sign of a grain of rice. And unless you have this, like it says, no man might buy or sell. Actually, I don't believe I've ever looked this up in a different translation. Right. NLT says what? And no one could buy or sell anything. So you're not going to, let's focus more on the buying. You're not going to be able to get anything without having this. See? You won't be able to do anything at all. It'll be like you're an outcast. You're X'd out from society. It'll be like you don't even exist. So in order to exist in this society, you you're gonna have to take that. But again, like I mentioned, and let me get it because I feel like I was butchering it earlier. Excuse me. Revelation chapter 3 and verse 10, because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I will also keep thee from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world to try them that dwell upon the earth. Right? So that word kept there goes back to the Greek word, I'm sorry, not Greek, excuse me. The Hebrew word shamar, right? To observe, right? To guard, to attend carefully to take care of. So in the hour of temptation, when there is a lack of food, when there is a lack of bread, the Lord is going to tend to us, to take care of us. That's why it says, excuse me, I didn't mean to do that. Isaiah 65 and 13. Therefore, thus saith the Lord God, behold, my servants, right? Again, because thou hast kept the word of my patience, behold, my servants shall eat, but ye shall be hungry. Behold, my servants shall drink, but ye shall be thirsty. Behold, my servants shall rejoice, but ye shall be ashamed. Behold, my servants shall sing for joy of heart, but ye shall cry for sorrow of heart, and shall howl for vexation of spirit. So even though you integrate yourself in the society by taking it, it doesn't mean that you're going to actually eat. Because this is going to be a judgment for the Lord where you think that, oh, you're trusting in the shadow of Egypt. You think that, oh, going to Egypt is going to save you. Oh, that's going to actually be the worst thing that you can do. But trusting in the Lord, he said, look, because you have kept the word of my patience, I also will keep thee from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world to try them that dwell upon the earth. Right? And that word world there is oikomene. Right? I apologize if I may have said it incorrectly, but in the inhabited earth. So this is going to be a global thing. This is why here there's a global crisis. We need a global solution. Universal basic income. Something that puts everybody in the same, essentially the same line, so to speak. Right? That small device is going to keep everybody essentially on a equal footing, so to speak. Everybody's going to be the same. So again, verse 14, behold, my servants, shall sing for joy of heart, but ye shall cry for sorrow of heart, and shall howl for vexation of spirit. So that's what happens when you keep the word of the Lord's patience. So when the hour of temptation comes, we won't have to worry about certain things. That's why it says in Romans 15:4, for whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning, right? We understand the power of the Lord and the power that he can make with miracles that what? The Lord had, if I'm not mistaken, 2 loaves and 5 fishes and was able to feed a multitude with that. You go back to Elijah, if I'm not mistaken, the Lord sent him in a certain area, and what? He had ravens bring him bread and flesh every morning and every evening. And he sent him by the brook Cherith, if I'm not mistaken, right? And he was able to drink water. So you have animals feeding you, and you have a brook that's near you, so you're able to get water. So Elijah was taken care of in that time of famine. You see? Because there was a famine that was going to be upon the land, if I'm not mistaken. I think it may have been 3 years. I could be wrong about that. But the Lord had his servant, like, look, you're not going to worry, you're not going to have to worry about that. Go over by the brook Cherith, and I shall send the ravens to feed thee there. And the ravens fed him bread and flesh in the morning and evening. And he had water as well. Then when that ran out, the Lord sent him to a widow woman, and she had a child with her, right? And she had a cruse of oil and things like that. And then what? Elijah told the woman, look, whatever situation you got going on, don't worry about that. Just make a cake for me and yourself also. And he said what? The cruse of oil, if I'm not mistaken, is not going to fail. So basically meaning that she didn't have a lot, but what? The Lord somehow, however he did it through the elements or whatever, was able to multiply that and make it to the point where it just didn't run out. However it goes. Because the woman said, look, I only have this amount of oil left and stuff like that. I'm just going to make a meal for me and my son, and we going to die. But Elijah was like, listen, go make me something first, and then for you and your son, don't worry, that food is going to be enough more than enough. We're going to have more than enough for me, and you and your son. That's what we can expect in these times when you trust in the Lord, when you keep the word of the Lord's patience. So when this economic collapse comes, the Lord is going to feed us. The Lord is going to take care of us in that time, right? But for those who trust in the shadow of Egypt, you're thinking that trusting in the shadow of Egypt is going to be of a benefit, that, okay, now I'm partaking in society. Now I can get sustenance, right? Now I can get something, but that's actually going to be to your detriment, because taking that thing, like it says in Revelation verse 16. I'll start. Revelation chapter 16, verse 1. And I heard a great voice out of the temple saying to the seven angels, Go your ways and pour out the vials of the wrath of God upon the earth. And the first went and poured out his vial upon the earth, and there fell a noisome and grievous sore upon the men which had the mark of the beast, and upon them which worshipped his image. So you thinking that, hey, I'm taking this, I'm gonna partake. I'll have access now. I'll be able to support myself or take care of my family or whatever have you. All right, yeah, it sucks that I put myself in deeper slavery, but so long as I'm able to, eat and live to see another day, this is just something that we're gonna have to get through. But you know what? We'll find another way. No, you're going to have to deal with a noisome and grievous sore. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe that word goes into ulcer, so like a cancer, a growth spot, right, is going to grow on your body that essentially is going to be like an infection. So then now, okay, yeah, you have access to eating. Now you have access to so-called take care of your family, but you got to remember, this is Esau Edom we're dealing with, right? A man that breaks his covenants. Who's to say that you make a covenant agreement with him to do this and he follows through on it? Especially for us as servants of the Lord, right? Now, we pray not to, take this, but you go getting weak and take this. We already done spoke out against the government. We done already said a whole bunch of stuff. They don't have to agree with that. So these are things you got to think about. This is why we got to pray for the Spirit to endure, so that way, again, we could be partaking in what? Being fed in the hour of temptation when there's a lack of food. Right, when if we may be locked up and they have us in some dungeon or some, I don't know, some basement somewhere, whatever you want to say, and they're not feeding us, that the Lord could have it to where, you have a Daniel and Habakkuk situation. The brother may be in a good state where he may be in some house, he found something, and he has abundance of food, and you're in, some jail somewhere, locked up, to not feeding you, and the Lord has the brother have an angel swing him over there to you, and it's like, yo, bro, here's a good food. And look, anytime you run out, I think the angel said he gonna bring me. So there's a bunch of food. Don't worry, you're gonna get fed. Stuff like that, right? Use your imagination, if you will, or just use the scriptures to paint a picture of what could happen to you in those certain scenarios. But yeah, I believe I went through everything that I wanted to go through. But I'll end it here. I hope and pray that this video has been edifying and informative. In ending, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Racha, Kwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of the Great Millstone. Peace and blessing to the hopeful elect. Shalom.